An independent UN probe has accused Israel of committing crimes against humanity in its war in Gaza, including the crime of extermination. In its report, the Commission of Inquiry says Israel used a widespread or systematic attack directed against civilians in the besieged territory, including the use of starvation. On the other hand, the investigation also blamed Hamas for committing war crimes. Israel has rejected the conclusions, accusing the UN Commission of what it says is systematic anti-Israeli discrimination. Meanwhile, efforts to reach a ceasefire continue. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Qatar, the final stop of his four-country visit to the Middle East, as he tries to tie up that truce proposal. Hamas says it has submitted its response to the plan with requests for more changes. American officials say they are evaluating the reply. On the ground, the violence continues. A salvo of rocket fire from Hezbollah in Lebanon rocked northern Israel, the group blaming the killing of a senior commander in an Israeli strike for the rockets. The Israeli Defense Forces say more than 150 projectiles were fired. Some were intercepted, but others struck inside Israel, sparking fires in parts of the north. Let's bring in Sarah Coates now, joining us live from Tel Aviv. Sarah, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, as we heard, is in Qatar, his final stop. And mediators are scrambling at this point to respond to issues and a reply by Hamas on that proposal. Do we know at this point what changes they're asking for and the chances of a breakthrough?
Hello there, Jill. Antony Blinken is actually right now speaking at a press conference in Qatar, in Doha. He's just said that some of these amendments by Hamas are workable, but he says some are not. But of course, we do know that these mediators, they are really trying to push for a deal here. But of course, this main sticking point is still standing in the way, and that is Hamas insisting on a full, comprehensive ceasefire and also the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. And this is something that we've been hearing from the Israelis time and time again that they will not do. Now, there is a lot of concern from the Biden administration and really other world partners that if, in fact, a ceasefire does not come into play, then what we may see is a wider regional war. We're speaking specifically here about the situation in the north, as you just mentioned, a wider war which could involve Iran. Now, today, Hezbollah, which is a proxy of Iran, it fired some 170 missiles, also drones, into northern Israel. They sparked quite large fires, some of which are still being put out. And this is very, very worrying. There has been an escalation on an almost daily basis. This is really an unprecedented situation right now in the north. There are more than 60,000 displaced Israelis due to the security situation. And this is really one of the reasons, not just Gaza, why these international players and why the United States is trying to get a ceasefire in place to really stop this situation in the north from escalating into something bigger.
Sarah, take you back to that UN report that we talked about, accusing both Hamas and Israel of war crimes. Could the report inform existing cases and orders against Israel at the ICJ and ICC?
Well, it doesn't actually carry any political penalties, but it certainly could be used by, let's say, the International Court of Justice in other cases. Israel is already rejecting this report and really has long accused the Commission of an anti-Israel bias. Now, we've already heard from Israel's UN ambassador in Geneva. She came out to say that the COI has once again proven that its actions are all in the service of a narrow-led political agenda against Israel. Now, the Commission says that Israel obstructs its work, and on this, there are now calls from some officials here in Israel to actually block the entry of UN officials to Israel and also the Palestinian territories, which of course would set a very, very dangerous precedent, Jill.